I got enough on my mind that when she pulls me by the hair, she hasn't much to hold on to. She keeping count on her hand, 1, 2, 3 days that I've been sleeping on my side. I finished kissing my dad, so now I head back up the steps, thinking about where I've been. I mean, the sun was never like this. I wanna feel with seasons. I guess it makes sense, cause my life's become as vapid as a night out in Los Angeles, and I just wanna stay in bed and hold you like I used to. You know that I am home. So darling, if you love me, would you let me know? Or go on, go on, go on, if you were thinking that the worst is yet to come. Why am I the one always packing up my stuff? For once, for once, for once, I get the feeling that I'm right where I belong. Why am I the one always packing up my stuff? She got enough on her mind that you feel no sorrow. I'll let my faith fill the air, so now she's rolling down the window. Never been one to hold on, but I need a last breath, so I ask if she remembers when she used to come and visit, man. We were fools to think that nothing could go wrong. Go on, go on, go on, if you were thinking that the worst is yet to come. Why am I the one always packing up my stuff? For once, for once, for once, I get the feeling that I'm right where I belong. Why am I the one always packing up my stuff? I think I kinda like it, but I might have had too much. I'll move back down to this western town. When they find me out, make no mistake about it, I'll move back down to this western town. When they find me out, make no mistake about it, I'll move back down. Go on, go on, if you were thinking that the worst is yet to come. Why am I the one always packing up my stuff? Go on, go on, go on, if you were thinking that the worst is yet to come. Why am I the one always packing up my stuff? For once, for once, for once, I get the feeling that I'm right where I belong. Why am I the one always packing up my stuff? I think I kinda like it, but I might have had too much. I'll move back down. We didn't get to ascend.
All right, are we live?
We live.
We're live. What up, Jay?
What up, Jesse? How's it going?
Going good.
Yeah.
I mean, I said what's up to Jay, and it's Thursday.
Yeah.
That means this is Roots to Grooves.
But Tuesday for the people.
Tuesday for the people. We record on Thursdays, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Fun behind-the-scenes fact.
Behind the scenes fact.
Yeah, a lot going on.
Yep.
Pretty stuffy in here, I think.
Very stuffy.
It's hot outside. The Blue Angels are flying around.
Yeah, you might hear some really loud train. I was going to call
I think they're
words
jets.
are a challenge today.
Yeah, no, I was feeling. Yeah, words are a challenge.
Yeah,
I don't know why. We're on the same wavelength though, so we'll get through it together.
yeah.
But anyway, we're talking about fun.
Fun. Yeah, we've talked previously on this podcast about laundry, cleaning or something like that.
Yeah, dry cleaning.
Dry cleaning. And now we're talking about fun.
Yeah.
The
So-
band.
Oh, but the band.
The band fun.
Not
Yeah.
just the concept of fun.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see.
We'll see.
Fun period is technically how you spell it. Is that right?
Yeah, lowercase fun period. Because it's stylized, written out that way.
Yeah.
I was thinking, are we calling them fun period? Or is it just fun?
Fun.
Just
period.
fun. Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, but this is a cool story.
Yeah.
You know, so let's just start from the top. They're making like Baroque pop.
Yep.
It's, you know, kind of reminiscent of like Queen a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
Kind of theatrical
Yep.
pop
Yep.
mixed with their first album. They have 2 albums out
Yep. Mm-hmm.
from 2009 and 2012.
Yep.
And yeah, it's kind of indie rock mixed with pop.
Yeah.
And the first album was a little bit more indie, and the second one was a little bit more pop, hip hop influence, though. Also, you could say,
Yep.
as we'll get into it. But some very cool music, some very talented musicians. There's 3 people in the band. We got Andrew Dost,
Keyboardist,
Nate Roos,
vocals,
jacking off.
guitar and drums. Did you say that on purpose?
Yeah, well,
You said his name real fast.
What? How do you say it?
Jack Antonoff.
Oh, okay.
Jokes. Jesse's got jokes already. He guitar and drums. I said that. Yeah.
Yeah. But Jack Antonoff is a huge producer.
Yeah, I didn't know. I still don't know his name. Well, I know his name now, but I didn't know
Yeah.
really that he was such a big deal, which we'll talk about as the show progresses.
Yeah.
But
But they're all from different bands, basically.
yeah.
So, and we'll get into that, I guess, after this next song we play.
Yeah.
What else we got for like?
Well, I mean, as fun, they got pretty huge. And I kind of want to say a disclaimer here because after searching around a lot, I think a lot of fun fans might discover this video or this podcast. I just want to put a disclaimer out there. You're probably not going to learn anything you don't already know about fun. We're just kind of recapping I didn't know about them, which is strange.
Yeah.
But they were big in the 2010s. I'd say that they got 2 pretty big tracks that most people would have known and still continue to hear this day on the radio and TV and films and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, they're absolutely massive.
They won Grammys, right? Didn't they?
They won 2 Grammys from it.
Yeah.
Some Nights.
Yeah.
We Are Young.
Yeah.
And I think they had another one, Carry On. But there was 5 singles from that album, Some Nights, in 2012, and you know, 2 of them or 3 of them were absolutely massive.
Yeah.
And everyone's heard them, I think, you know. So that's what we're kind of talking about. But I was listening to me and my cousin were talking about fun. I don't know, it came up and we were like, what's the story? They were a huge band.
Right. Yeah.
And then what happened to them?
Yeah.
Like, where'd they go?
Yeah.
Like, no follow-up album after that massive,
Right.
great album.
Yeah.
And so we listened to the album and we were like, this is pretty good. So what happened to fun?
Right.
So that's kind of what we're talking about today. That's kind of the story.
Yeah.
What else you got?
Yeah, like you said, Baroque rock, Baroque pop is what they say on there, which is kind of, people describe that as like rock. Yeah, like you said, I think earlier, with like elements of classical music and like theatricality. I think about a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I decided to randomly listen to the first David Bowie album. If anyone goes and checks out David Bowie's first ever album, it's kind of like this. It's very like, sort of like medieval, like theatrical, weird, totally not what David Bowie went on to sound like, but it reminded me of that, this genre kind of thing.
Yeah.
Kind of whimsy, they say sometimes as well.
Yeah, okay. Whimsical.
And yeah, I was listening to the first Fun album and I got like a mishmash of like definitely Queen vibes, Elton John vibes, even a little bit of Smashing Pumpkins and a bit of Meatloaf. Remember Meatloaf?
Yeah.
From the 70s stuff like that.
Yeah, not super familiar with Meatloaf, but
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
know the name.
So yeah, I that was kind of the vibes I was getting from the first album, and then
I might just be biased. I was getting some Shins as well.
Shins,
Kind
yeah.
of the songwriting,
okay,
you know,
yeah,
the melodies,
Yeah.
just really kind of swimming around.
yeah,
Interesting. A lot going on in the songs as well.
yeah. I haven't heard much of the Shins, so yeah, I wouldn't get that comparison. I don't think, but
I recommend them.
Okay,
I think
yeah,
they're
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
They're in like my top 5.
Yeah, nice.
So, yeah. So this band had a big come up, big album.
Yeah,
They disappeared.
yeah,
We want to talk about what happened to them.
yeah.
So let's play another track, and then let's get into the story.
Let's do it.
Walking along 'cause the night is dead. Cross my mind when I cross the bridge. How you lost your mind and your wrist got bruised. Did you want a better love? Was it sleeping in your bedroom? Hold on, stay on my side, don't go. If you could see me, whoever I am, it's not like a movie. It's not all skin and bones. So come on, love. I will not let you go. Now I'm walking along 'cause the night is dead. My feet don't glide like they did back then. When I call you up so we can shoot the moon. These days I'm left to have it I was too freaking, I must admit. I got a better set of chords, so I might have been faking it. Think I really only cried just once. So if you could see me, whoever I am, it's not like a movie. It's not all skin and bones. So come on, love. I will not let you go. I will not let you go.
After all the show, after the boys of summer gone,
Amid all the confusion,
these friends I've been losing,
I always thought from the start,
I'd given them no very long.
I guess I'll never know where all the boys of summer go.
But I miss what we made.
All the days were now wasted.
There are some things I may never know.
How you lost your mind and your wrist got bruised and you wanted better love while you're sleeping in your bedroom. Hold on, stay on my side, don't go. If you could see me, whoever I am, it's not like a movie. It's not all skin and bones. So come on, love. Come on, come on, come on, go. I will not let you go. If you could see me, whoever I am, it's not like a movie. It's not all skin and bones. So come on, love. I will not let you go. I will not let you go. If you could see me, whoever I am, it's not
Walking the Dog was the name of that track from Fun, period. From their debut album, Aim and Ignite. 2009, right? Long time ago.
Their debut album,
Debut album.
one of 2.
Yeah. So, should we go back in time a little bit? See where these guys came from? What?
Real quick, do we have a quote of the day?
I don't.
Oh, okay, we'll pass up by. We'll just pass that section. Okay, we're not doing it.
Yeah. I
Ne-
don't.
tune in next week for-
Music is great.
By Jay Purcell.
That's a quote of the day.
Cool. It's going up on the wall.
Yeah.
So now let's go back in time.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I didn't look into the histories of the individual members of the band.
Yeah.
just because I was more intrigued by the story of what they were doing together and the story of fun. Period. Fun. You know, we don't have to say period every time, but you know what I mean.
I could give you some brief highlights on each member.
Yeah.
If you want to hear it. Nate, born February 26, 1982. His uncle was a guy called John Roos, who was a performer on Broadway and was a heavy influence on Nate growing up musically. He moved to Arizona in '86. He had pneumonia as a child, which was pretty bad. There's a track called The Gambler. I'm not sure under which project or whether that was a fun song that he wrote that was specifically about that kind of thing. He started playing in punk bands when he was in high school. And he's not a musician, right? He is a singer. Like, he doesn't play any instruments.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally.
apparently, he said he wasn't one to take lessons for singing, so he used to go sit in his car and play any sort of music from a vocalist that might be really hard to mimic, he said. Turn it on as loud as possible and trying to hit all those notes. And that's basically how he taught himself how to sing. Then after that, 2002, age of 19, he formed the band The Format, which was his band that he had before.
Yeah.
With his best friend Sam Means. They were together for a while. I'm not sure how many albums they put out. I think only 2. Again,
Yeah, not too. Yeah.
they had some label troubles. I think they ended up splitting up. He said he was bitter about that originally, but like after the fun project went along, he kind of looked upon it as with fond memories, and also realized that it taught him a lot about how to do everything in music. Like,
Yeah. I think for that second Format album, the label was reorganizing, or one label was becoming another label.
right, yeah.
Some kind of thing right there, some kind of transition phase, and so like it didn't really hit,
Yeah,
you know, commercially
yeah,
or critically, and it was kind of, you know, nobody knew about it. It wasn't that great. It didn't have a big reception, is what I'm trying to say. I didn't listen to that music, so maybe it was good.
yeah.
But I'm just saying, reception wise, it wasn't a hit, you know.
No, but they did go on a lot of tours with was it the other band that Antonov was in? Is it
Yeah, Steel Train.
Steel Train? Yeah, I think
So-
they toured together, right, or something
Yeah.
like that.
And so that's basically where the story, as far as I'm saying, starts for
Right.
fun.
Yeah.
Basically, Jack Antonoff was in Steel Train. And Andrew Dost, I think, was in Anathello. Was that his old band, or was that his new band?
I think it was his old band.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think all these guys were basically in different bands, and they met on tour.
Yeah.
So that's how they kind of formed the connection.
Yeah, they said that vans would go along together. You know, they'd play like a lot of sports. I think like dodgeball and stuff like that to try and pass the time on the road, and they kind of bonded that way. I think. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
Yeah.
And then so basically all their bands started to fall apart.
yeah, yeah,
They were breaking up for one reason or another.
yeah,
And specifically Nate's band,
yeah,
The Format, broke up. And so he was like, I'm starting a new project.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I got these buddies, Jack and Andrew,
yeah,
and I'm going to call them up,
yeah.
get them together, see if they want to do this project with me.
Right.
And they did.
Yeah, yeah,
And so they started working in New Jersey on the first Fun album.
yeah.
I think a bunch of those first Fun album songs from Aim and Ignite were songs that were meant to be on Format,
Okay.
on the
Interesting.
Format,
Right. Yeah.
you know, next album that never happened.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so he kind of used those for the new Fun stuff. And so he was, I don't know, I guess that's the story that I got.
Yeah, definitely. And also, I think they said when they first started writing together as Fun, it was a little bit hard or something like that. They said like they were trying to. They said the first songs they did weren't good, and they had to like scrap them, kind of thing. Even though like Nate said in one interview he still liked some of that stuff. But I think it was like because they were sort of nervous about working with each other and sort of trying to impress each other a little bit. But I think they sort of worked through that as they got towards the end of writing that debut album. And then it was totally like resolved by the second album. They said they'd figured out what everyone's roles were and how to sort of work together, kind of thing. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. I mean, so Aim and Ignite dropped in 2009.
Yeah.
And I listened to that one. It was good. The reception was like moderate critical success,
Okay. Yeah.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
So it was received pretty great.
Yeah.
Generally a success.
Yeah.
And they toured behind it.
Yeah. Didn't they? Was it with this band they supported Paramore? Fun?
Yeah, I think it was with
Okay,
this.
yeah.
With this album.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a big deal. I think they went to UK as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Played some gigs. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they toured with Jack's Mannequin.
Yeah. I haven't heard of. Have you heard of him or them?
Yeah.
Is it a band or a
Yeah,
guy?
it's another band that's kind of got that kind of Baroque theatrical vibe to it, but it's kind of, similar-ish indie pop. So it is along the same vein,
Right.
I would say. Yeah. But I'm not intimately familiar with Jack's Mannequin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think so. They had like the first track from Aim and Ignite, and they put it up on MySpace.
Yeah, back in the MySpace days.
Yeah.
I think their first release, what did they say? It was a demo song that they originally did, Benson and Hedges, which is a track on. Sorry, Benson Hedges. Benson and Hedges is a cigarette brand in the UK, so I don't.
Oh,
know,
is it?
I don't know where Benson Hedges comes from for them specifically, but it was that was the first single they put out. Made it free. It was available in Spin Magazine's article on the band, which came out in 2008, I think, and then the following year they put out the album. Yeah.
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 So it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Basically, they toured behind it,
Yeah.
and then I think they switched labels.
Yeah. Fueled by Ramen, right? Is that the label they ended up on?
Yeah, that.
They've come up a few times. I forget off the top of my head who else has been on them, but we've covered a few artists from that label.
I believe they're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Yeah.
What artist we were talking about.
Yeah.
But their second album, which is kind of the main story that we're talking about, Some Nights,
Yeah.
came out eventually in 2012.
Yeah.
And that was on Fueled by Ramen, so that kind of served as their, transition.
Yeah. So they said for this one, because they sort of mentioned a hip hop influence on this album, and they said so they recorded this album in March. I don't know what year, 2011 maybe or something like that. But Nate said like the November before that he was starting to sort of think about the hip hop influence on these songs that he was thinking of.
Yeah, he was listening to like Drake, Beyonce,
Yeah.
Artists like these.
Kanye West.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was looking specifically through the linear notes of like the Kanye West album and the Drake album, and he was trying to like sort of see like similar names, and there was one name that kept popping up, which there's producer Jeff. What's his last name? Jeff.
Jeff.
Old Jeff, boy.
I didn't have that written down, but yeah, Jeff. He worked with Kanye.
Yeah. I feel bad about that. I have to find his name now.
Man,
Jeff.
we didn't even write that down. Okay, cut this out.
We'll find it in the next track when the next track plays.
Okay. But yeah, so he'd worked with a lot of like hip hop,
Yeah.
done
Artists.
artists.
A lot of Kanye West stuff apparently. Yeah. And so they Nate had the story, and it kind of bleeds into how that track, one of their most famous tracks, came up. We Are Young, I think, which featured Janelle Monáe on the album. I think that was like the first song he worked with that producer, and his story was basically that he was driving into New York City, and he had this melody in his head for this song, and the lyrics, and he was like sort of trying to figure it out. He ended up meeting Jeff for dinner. I think he got a bit drunk, he said, and Jeff was like, "Do you want to hear some of the Beyonce demos that I'm working on?" I was like, "Okay." So he goes to the studio and listens to this like unreleased Beyonce demos tracks. And then in that session, Nate decided to start singing the melody for We Are Young to him. Stopped Jeff in his tracks. He really liked it. And he said 2 days later, they went into the studio, made it. And apparently they spent a really long time in there. Like he left the studio at like 5 a.m. Like he said he was really super amped up and excited about what they'd created in the studio. So only got like, he sent the track off to the other two guys in Fun. Went to sleep for like 3 hours, woke up like phone Jack immediately, and they were all like hyped about like how this turned out kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think from there, that's how Jeff like got involved in producing the rest of the album, with the other guys all writing and providing the instrumentation and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, which is, I don't. Do you know how we got in contact with him?
I know that Nate was said that November before they recorded, he was staying at his parents' house in Arizona, and he was just had lots of phone calls with different producers. So I feel like it might have been with the help of the label, like, you know, here are some desirable people I'd love to work with. Like, can you get their contact details? You know,
Right.
See if they're up for a chat, kind of thing. So I know he definitely spoke to a few different people, and I guess he didn't even know he was going to work with Jeff until that night when they had drinks and played music, and he shared the idea with him, kind of thing, and just kind of knew it clicked from there. And I guess after that initial studio session, maybe even up until that point, they might have been looking at other producers, I would assume, like, you know. But yeah, I mean, Jeff eventually said at some point, I think there's a quote from him saying that he was really excited about this album and how everything was sounding, to the point where he said it's like the best stuff I've done yet, which is crazy to say since you worked on a lot of Kanye albums. But I think because it was different, because he'd done such a long time working in the hip hop world, that working on this album with Fun was like a different sort of, you know, sound, right?
Yeah.
Like more poppy or something like that.
Yeah. So give him an opportunity to be creative
Yeah.
and you know, try something new as well.
Yeah.
And so basically it's a pretty awesome album. We're about to play Some Nights, which is the title track, basically. Yeah. And so we can all get the vibe. Probably most people have heard it, but it is a pretty great track.
Yeah.
I think it's probably gonna stand up as like one of the greatest tracks from the 2010s. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you agree? I think it's pretty prominent.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, it's a very memorable song from that era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty poignant.
Yeah.
Here
Give it a
come
spin.
the Jets.
Let's give it a spin.
Some nights I stay up, cashing in my bad luck. Some nights I call it a draw. Some nights I wish that my lips could build a castle. Some nights I wish they just fall off. But I still wake up, I still see your ghost. Oh Lord, I'm still not sure what I stand for. Oh, what do I stand for? What do I stand for? Most nights I don't know anymore. Stops my bones from wondering just who I am, who am, oh, who am I? Well, some nights I wish that this all would end, 'cause I could use some friends for a change. And some nights I'm scared you'll forget me again. Some nights I always win. But I still wake up, I still see your ghost. Oh Lord, I'm still not sure what I stand for. What do I stand for? What do I stand for? Most nights I don't know.
So this is it. I sold my soul for this. Wash my hands of that for this. I miss my mom and dad for this. No. When I see stars, when I see stars, that's all they are. When I hear songs,
They sound like a swan, so come on. Well, crazy guys, daddy's on. 5 minutes in and I'm bored again. 10 years of this, I'm not sure if anybody understands. This one is not for the folks at home. Sorry to leave, mama had to go. Who the sister and the calm that she call love. And then I look into my nephew's eyes. Man, you wouldn't believe the most amazing things that can come from some terrible lie.
Some Nights from the album Some Nights by Fun 2012, produced by Jeff Basker. Found his name.
There it is.
Fun fact, apparently Jeff Basker's dad is Ravi Basker, who has been the mayor of the city of Socorro, New Mexico for over 24 years. Very weird.
That is a fun fact.
But Jeff Basker was one of the primary Kanye producers, worked on 808s and Heartbreak, and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, which is the album I think that Fun really cited multiple times in different interviews as being a big inspiration on them, like, for this album. And
Yeah, so he's amazing. He's worked on some seminal albums for some big artists.
yeah,
And it was kind of a dream come true for Nate and Fun.
yeah.
And they got to work with this super awesome guy.
Yeah, and this album, the other track, we aren't playing it, but it's I actually recognize it more than Some Nights, which is We Are Young.
Yeah, arguably that one's even bigger.
Yeah.
That one, I think, is where they won their Grammys.
Right, yeah.
I think they got like Record of the Year and Song of the Year. I think they won a Billboard award for it as well. And that one was, it was like, debuted on the charts at like #1 or whatever.
And it's been all over lots of different TV shows and films as well. So it kind of seeped into pop culture that way, I think, a lot.
Yeah.
Is there a tempo shift in that song? Did you hear it? Do you remember a tempo shift in that? There's one story of Nate talking about a tempo shift in one of the songs.
In the final track?
Is it the final track on that album? I
don't.
I heard him talk about working with Jeff in a moment in the studio. I didn't catch what track it was, but basically he was saying that he had this chorus which was like the hook kind of thing, and then he realized that the verse that Nate had written was like a faster tempo kind of thing, and so he told Jeff, like, no, we need to change the tempo here. And apparently Jeff was like, what? Like, how? No, it's like the track's this tempo.
He said no.
But then he said the other guys weren't in the studio with him at that moment. They said if they were, they would have been there to back him up, because apparently that happened a lot in the studio, where Nate would kind of have these crazy ideas, and the other guys recognized that it works, kind of thing. And I guess tempo shifts are a really rare thing in music, especially pop music. But it works. It's used a lot. I hear it in maybe not pop music kind of thing, but. I mean, Radiohead have done it though, right? Haven't they? Like,
yeah,
slightly.
Franz Ferdinand has that song that slows down.
Right. Yeah.
So it can work in specific moments.
Yeah,
and it could be very cool.
And it was funny how Nate decided on that, because it wasn't intentional like production technique. It was because he had written something that was a certain way, and he wanted to keep that intact. And so crazy.
So that's kind of one of the things that I like to talk about, is kind of Nate he's pretty musical, and he has a lot of great ideas. But he doesn't really produce.
No. Yeah.
So he kind of needs the help of these other artists to create these ideas and make them a reality.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of interesting. I think he has a lot of, like you were mentioning, a lot of crazy ideas, big theatric ideas. And, I don't know where we want to tell this story. Basically, I don't know what I'm saying, because basically the band broke up after this album, and Nate went on to use a lot of the songs that was going to be on the third Fun record.
Yeah.
And he went solo, and basically the album flopped.
Yeah.
And it's really reminiscent. It sounds like it should have been a Fun record, but it was missing like the production.
Right. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah. So, yeah, kind of backing up a little bit. Like, yeah, Nate's approach is that he'll write things in his head. He says it's in his head a lot.
Right.
Which I don't know how he's able to remember these ideas without getting them out super quick. He said they'd be in his head for like a year before he records them or something. I mean, but Michael Jackson worked that way. He didn't play any instruments, but he would like beatbox a lot, to the producers, and that's how they'd figure out the beats and stuff like that. For Nate, I think when he's specifically working with the other two guys in Fun, he would, just come in with the melody and the lyrics, and the other guys would set the music to it,
Yeah, they would create the musical parts.
And then when Jeff came involved in the second album, at least for that first track they wrote together, the other two guys weren't there, so I'm not sure how they integrated themselves into the rest of the process, but that's essentially the way he works, right? And I also said that he likes to carry on like the narrative. So like he thinks about, like, if he has an idea for a song, he'll know that is like got to be like the last track on the album. So he talks a lot about like how the other songs have to be written to like get to that moment, basically, kind of thing. And he's also said, like, there's the last track on the last album and the first track on the next album. He knows what the first track has to be about, because he's kind of doing a continuation of the last thing.
Right.
It's a really interesting way to work. And so it seems like he would have, done that. By the end of this run, some nights, there's a few things, right, they said about this. Like, first of all, they said that they were all from different groups to start with, and this was kind of a side project to start with, right? And so they've kind of always said that they never split up. They just on hiatus kind of thing.
Yeah, they ended up making a statement for their fans and stuff.
Yeah.
Basically saying that, we're not breaking up. We just want to make a record when we're inspired to make a record.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's, there's a whole statement, and you can look it up online. Maybe we should have read it on here, but actually,
You have a snippet of it?
no, I don't know. I won't.
I mean, the main sentiment, like you said, is they're not doing this for the money, for the fame. They make music when they're inspired to make it. At least I think that sentiment might have come more from Nate than from the other guys, I feel like. And Nate had said about that, because they were so successful with that album, they had those two massive hits, that I think the label and the people around them wanted to like squeeze as much out of that success as possible,
Yeah, and they said in that statement, like, it would have been easy to make another album and capitalize on the success and all this momentum from Some Nights.
Yeah.
But that's not, basically, I'm just paraphrasing, but that's not what the band is about.
Right.
And they don't want to just do that. Like,
Yeah.
it's a weird thing though, because I think some of these storylines, like, some people are saying that Nate is, kind of got an ego,
Right.
and he wanted most of the attention
Yeah.
from Fun, but he wasn't getting that full credit, or that's how he felt, at least.
Yeah, I saw some people wrote on Reddit or somewhere that was like, he was only getting 90% of the attention, but he wanted 100%.
Yeah. So he left.
It seems a bit weird, because and I think this is why people say that, is because apparently they did have songs that they were going to do, and they had studio time booked, and they were all pretty much ready to do a third album. But apparently, hello, Blue Jay, what are they called? Not the
Blue Angels.
Blue Angels.
The Blue Jay.
The Blue Jays. That's a baseball team. Isn't
Yeah. They were just here.
There you go. Nate basically said to the other band members that he didn't want to do it, I think. is what happened, you know. So they canceled all the studio sessions and stuff. And he said in a Rolling Stones interview that he was maybe a bit too emotional about it, and it didn't go over well when he told the other two guys that he didn't want to do the third album.
Right.
So he was saying he was being very diplomatic and saying I had this opportunity to do all of this stuff. And I think that's where the crux of where people think, oh, he's too big for his britches now and he wants to go off and do a solo career,
right,
sort of thing, you know.
I mean, it's interesting because I think they were working on some other songs, and they even debuted a new fun track on like Jimmy Fallon. Mm-hmm. So they, you know, it's like the momentum was starting for the next record, and you know they played it in front of people, and then I think they had studio time booked for Fun for the band, for the three of them, and Nate kind of put himself in there and used that studio time and worked on what would end up being his debut solo record. Yeah. And, you know, so like, what is that? I guess there's this whole idea of like piggybacking, and other artists have done it. You know, where like the front man of a band becomes too big for their britches, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna do my own thing because I'm the popular one here. I'm the powerful one. Yeah, yeah. And so I'm just gonna do my own solo thing. Yeah. Because it's me who the people love.
His official statement that Nate said about this was that he'd written these songs, and he didn't want to share them. Like he didn't want to co-write them. He wanted to express because these were very personal songs to him apparently, and he wanted to express them himself. And he said like working with producers that are not sort of like co-band members is an easier way to do that because you can kind of sort of direct them almost. He didn't say that, but that's basically what he meant, I think, you know. Yeah. But I don't know. It's weird, you know. And so that album, his debut, his only solo album came out in 2015, right? Mm-hmm. And then he hasn't released anything since. And he basically disappeared. And he's done a few like features. Apparently he was on like Eminem's 8th album. Like I don't know when in what year that came out. I should have looked that up.
I think like 2019 or something like that.
Okay, so he's sort of done a few things. He did a duet with Pink. I don't know when that came out either. He was on that TV show, The Voice, apparently for like a little bit or something. Okay. It's like I saw he said he was an advisor. I don't know if he was on camera for that.
But he also had a family.
But he did start a family after that. Got married in 2019, I think. Yeah. And then he has 2 kids now. Yeah. Yeah. And so there was like a video interview that came out of him a couple of years ago now. I didn't get a chance to watch it before this, but one of the highlights from that is he apparently said that he considers himself retired from music.
Oh, did he say that?
Yeah, yeah. And I checked out his Instagram, and it's interesting. Apparently in like 2021, 2022, they were going to do a reunion tour of The Format, his first band. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it's strange. Like the fun thing, they say officially there's no animosity there, but we all kind of feel like there is.
I think there is, and they're being polite and they're not, you know, spilling the tea,
which is fine because maybe they want to leave the door open to, you know, mend bridges and come back together at some point. Yeah. But like, you know, Jack Antonoff, right? He, like you said, is a major songwriter now. He's done stuff for Taylor Swift, Lana Del Rey,
Lord.
He has a massive career. People have considered him to have had a massive influence on the sound of pop in the 2010s, which is crazy. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, so I mean, super high praise. Yeah. And so he has this other project called The Bleachers. Right. And that's been like pretty much a great success. Yeah, yeah. I've never heard of them until I started doing this research.
Me neither, yeah.
But I think they have a solid following.
Yeah, big shows. They get, yeah.
Yeah, touring and everything. And the music is pretty good. I listened to a little bit of it last night. Right. And it's cool. It's good stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, seeing the success of Jack Antonoff, people now see in hindsight, oh, okay, that's where a lot of the production influence and kind of the greatness of that Fun record came from. Yeah. And obviously Nate has a huge part in the lyricism. Mm-hmm. He writes really good lyrics and he writes good hooks and stuff. Yeah. But it seems like they're a much more powerful duo and trio when they're working together. You know, because you can see Jack Antonoff's power working with these huge artists over and over again and massive success.
Yeah.
And then his own band, The Bleachers, success. So he's killing it.
Yeah.
And Nate tried his own music all by himself.
Yeah.
And basically that album flopped, like I said.
Yeah.
And then he, you know, semi-retired.
Right. Yeah.
Fell off the face of the earth a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just concentrating on other things, of course.
Yeah.
Like family, and that's all good.
For sure,
But it seems like, I don't know, what a weird.
It seems like he would have wanted to keep going and he just couldn't because that album flopped or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe I don't know anything about this, but maybe people didn't want to work with him. I don't know.
Well, I did see other, you know, anecdotal evidence
Really?
that he is hard to work with, or he's a douche or something like that.
Really? Yeah.
So, I don't want to speculate too much either.
Yeah.
Just passing on the information that I was reading other people say.
Yeah. Yeah.
But there's definitely some kind of story there, and it's kind of a sad story, I guess, because that album was really good some nights, and then everything kind of fell apart.
Yeah.
I-
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think Andrew has also been working. I think he has his own solo project. I'm not sure exactly how successful it is, but I think he's also been like scoring for films.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's keeping busy and seeing success in his own right.
And he wasn't someone that really likes the limelight. And they said, you know, he didn't want to be a front man of anything, you know.
Right.
He's more of a behind the scenes sort of songwriter, producer, composer kind of thing. Yeah. But yeah, seeing how those two guys, Jack and Andrew, are very like great songwriters and producers in their own right, you know, it makes us realize how much impact they had on Fun. you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And a lot of the interviews I've seen with Fun, it's always Nate talking about the songs and his songwriting process. I don't really hear too much from the other guys about how they're talking about that stuff. But I mean, as big as they are and as good as they are, they must have had a really big sort of presence on the writing of Fun music in the production kind of thing. Definitely on the first album, because I think the first album they didn't have a third-party producer, right? They did it all themselves. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was one of the other things people were saying that made Nate want to try to do his own thing, because Jack was never 100% into Fun.
Oh, yeah.
Like, he had his other projects and he had his other musical interests, and he wanted to keep the lanes open to do those.
Yeah.
And so he's like, 60% these, open projects, and 40% fun.
Yeah.
And Nate wanted everybody in the band to be 100% fun and concentrate on this.
Yeah.
And so and there's just, another anecdotal piece of evidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's kind of another reason why maybe Nate wanted to move on and try his own solo thing.
Yeah. All those reasons sound legit.
Yeah, they're all plausible.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to say he's a douche, but and there's no but in that. Like, I don't know. I don't know the guy. But no, I don't know the guy. I think a lot of people are upset that Fun hasn't done anything, but that he hasn't done anything either. Like, there are people that are really big fans of him, and like in the YouTube comments, they're like, "Oh, please release more music. Where did you go?" And all that sort of stuff. So I don't really know. It would be interesting to watch that interview that he did a couple of years ago, where he'd been out of the limelight for a few years at that point and was just kind of living a private life. I should have watched it for this. Like, I didn't have the time, but I recommend people go find that, because it would be interesting to see what his take is now, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because I understand quitting the music business because it's hard, and there's so many things involved in that whether you get to be doing your own artistic freedom or not, or the business side, all that kind of stuff. But I think if anyone that truly loves music and likes making music, you never quit it,
Right.
So, or sometimes that happens, I mean, I didn't play music for 7 years. I was doing other things, but now I'm back into it. It's like, I don't really want to take a break from it again. I want to, even if it means I don't, do anything professionally with it, I still got to play,
Yeah, it's just part of you.
Yeah.
The music flows through you.
So, I mean, I get people can come jaded. I don't want to sing anymore. The whole thing ruined my life.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, if you've got that talent and that passion and the ability to write the songs that he's written, you know, you feel like there'll be a little bit of niggling. I want to get back to it. Well, so maybe fun will come back. They haven't actually definitively closed the door,
Right.
but it has been over 10 years since they've done anything, you know. But
I hope they do. I think it'd be really interesting.
yeah.
I mean, and I don't know. That's basically the end of the story. Leads us up
now.
to the present.
Yeah.
Everyone, yeah. Nate's with his family, not in music.
Yeah.
Jack Antonoff's killing it. Andrew's killing it.
Also, I didn't want to say, because Nate did date Jack's sister, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that had something to do with them breaking up? I don't know.
I know that because that was around the time of Some Nights, I believe.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So
Just throwing that out there.
I don't know if that adds a little bit of some kind of variable and
Drama and intrigue.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I mean, let us know if people have more info on this. You know, we just learned about all these stories this week because basically before this week, I didn't know any of these kind of drama storylines
Me neither.
that had to do with this band. I just know that Fun had these huge, awesome tracks.
Right.
And so, you know, it's pretty intriguing because what is interesting about music is how not only the collaborations between the artists and the art and the music that they're making, but like the business decisions and what direction we should go in and how should decisions be made and what it means to all the individual band members. So
Yeah, and if you don't want to do some of those things, you could come across as egotistical or whatever.
Right.
It's like I don't want to put my music in this commercial, or I don't want to do that performance on this TV show. That's like lame, you know.
Yeah.
But then you come across as like, oh, you know, you're being given these big opportunities and you don't want to do it. Like,
yeah, exactly.
you know, yeah. You just got to kind of stay true to your own inner kind of feeling about things, though, which is hard, I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And so, and maybe that's what happened.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Jack Antonoff wanted to do.
yeah,
And so he's given himself the opportunity to do that. And Nate had his chance to do it too.
yeah,
They all did once Fun broke up.
yeah,
And I don't know.
yeah.
Hopefully they are all cool with each other.
Hopefully, yeah.
And hopefully they get back together one day because I think they can make some cool stuff.
And it's funny because I see the last track we're going to play out with is called All Alone. Oh. That's very sad. It's like Nate over in the corner without the two other guys.
Yeah.
All alone. I don't know.
Just him and his family. He's not alone, you know.
No, he's not alone. No,
So it's not too sad.
no, it's
But
true.
as far as the band Fun goes,
Yeah.
a little bit of a sad ending here.
Yeah, first sound ending.
Not too fun.
First artist we've covered that haven't done anything for quite a while.
Yeah.
Possibly have broken up, but we don't know. Yeah. So anyway,
That's all I got. I think that's the story.
that's the story. I hope Fun fans are out there that don't hate on us for this episode.
Yeah, like I said, we just learned about all this week,
yeah.
and you know we're just having a conversation about some of our thoughts about the situation.
Yeah.
But if I honestly let us know if there's something that we said that was really dumb or out of left field that doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
or if there's some pertinent information that would change our mind about what we're thinking about over here.
We might do a follow-up part 2. We've never done that before,
Yeah,
but we could.
might be well deserved for this one.
Yeah. All right. That's it for this week.
Yeah.
Reach the grooves.
Hit us up, guys, at Instagram, Roots to Grooves, Twitter or X at Roots to Grooves, YouTube at Roots to Grooves, TikTok at Signal Radio, or get in contact with us directly. Jay's got the email.
Roots to grooves at signalradio.com, SIGNL radio.com.
I fell in love with a wind-up souvenir. I bought it downtown as I was on my way to meet you. She sounds like the songs you used to sing to put me to sleep. But now that you're gone, she's all that I've left to hold. And I feel so all alone. No one's gonna fix me when I'm broke. How do you cry with inanimate eyes? You're never gonna smile with the way that you act. And I feel
she dances, the painted look upon her face. She must have come from the sun. I wanna take her through the park where she tell me all that she wants, and she could even talk. I feel so all alone. No one's gonna fix me when I'm broke. How do you cry with an animated eyes? You're never gonna smile with the way that you are, and I feel so all alone. I feel so all alone. And she sits on my shelf. It makes me think of you, the way she carries the things that remind me of who we used to be before we became antiques. She's alive like you, but when I hold her too tight, I know she'll break. She just takes some glue to stay. I feel so all alone. No one's gonna fix me when I'm broke. How do you cry with an animated eyes? You're never gonna smile with the way that you are, and I feel so all alone. I feel so all alone. I feel so all alone.
Roots to Grooves is a production of Signal Radio. For more music and independent culture, visit signalradio.com. That's SIGNL radio.com.